Hello, my name is Benny Crow. Thanks for tuning in and listening to my story today. I'm going to base a lot of what I say on making decisions, and I'm going to lead you through some of the decisions that I made that brought me closer to God and brought me to my salvation. And I'm going to start when I was 17 years old. I was living in Louisville, Kentucky, and I met my wife. My parents was going to Germany, and it was an 18-month tour, and I didn't want to go. And I just turned, by 2 weeks, I just turned 17. So at 17, you can get into service. So I joined the service, went to Fort Knox. They sent me from Fort Knox to did my training there, and then I went to Georgia. And I was there almost a year, and I was doing a hardship tour, so I went back on the Christmas of that year. Went back to Kentucky, and me and my girlfriend got together, and we thought we wanted to get married, but we knew it was pretty young. We didn't know how it would work, so we thought, well, maybe we'll just skip this and make a decision, and when we get back. 18 months is a long time. We didn't want to do that, so I went back to Georgia, and they gave me my orders to go to Germany. I went back home and got with Joanne, and we got married that year, 1961, early. And 2 weeks later, I went to Germany, and then about a month later, I sent her a ticket, and she came to Germany, and we spent 3 years together in Germany. So that was one of the decisions I had to make about jobs and going, and I didn't have no home to stay at, so I come back from Germany, and they sent me back to Georgia. And there at Georgia, here's some more decisions that I had to make. Time was getting away from me on what we need to be doing and everything. So when they sent me back, my discharge was coming up, and I thought, well, another decision. I'm going to take my discharge, get out of the service, and I'm going to go find me a job. So we moved here to Oklahoma. Being a working man, I wanted to be sure and support my family. I worked for General Motors for 8 years, but the first 2 years, I was doing real good, making good money, bought me a new car, had me a camping trailer, spent a week at Galveston, coming back on a Sunday afternoon, and we was unpacking my car, and I looked up, and there's a car pulled up in my driveway, and this couple got out. And when these people got out, they come up and wanted to talk to me, and so I was never a rude guy. I wasn't a bad guy, I just wasn't a Christian. And then when they came up to me, they wanted to know if I was interested in coming to a revival. And I said, revival, like for what? And they said, well, it's a church revival, and we've got a real good preacher over there. And I said, well, no. I didn't tell them no, but I wanted to tell them no. But I said, no, it's let me think about it a little bit. Well, we've got a big tent set up over at 44th and I-35, and we're having nightly services, and we're into our last week. I said, well, okay, yeah, we'll try to make it. So they thanked me, and they left, and I told Joanne, I don't know about this deal, but at least, we thought they was different than what we really thought they were, and they was nice. We liked them, nice, polite people. They wasn't pushy. But the next night we didn't go, and the next night when I got home from work, there they come up again. And I said, oh, Joanne, I said, here them people back again. So anyway, they said, well, we didn't see you. We only got a couple of nights. We'd really like for you to come to this revival. And I didn't know revival. I didn't know salvation. I just knew about God and a little bit about Jesus, but not much of that. But they said, you need to come and just hear this preacher. Okay, I told John, I said, we got to go. I said, if we don't, they're going to come back tomorrow. So we packed up that evening, went there, and it was. They said, it's a come as you are. You come in your work clothes. We don't care. Just come. We went up. We didn't get all dressed up. We went up here and met my two kids, and we really enjoyed it. I mean, right off, I did like it. I liked his preaching. I didn't understand some of it, but I liked it. I liked what he had to say, and he said things, and I don't know how he knew so much about me because I never met him. But every time he said something, he was talking about me. It seemed like maybe I even looked out there, and he looked at me, and he would say, if you died or something happened to you, do you know you'd go to heaven? I said, how do I go to heaven? I didn't know, really understand a whole lot about it, but I knew. And that was a lot of his message, you got to get ready. Today is the day of salvation. He kept saying, today is the day of salvation. You need to be saved. You need to be saved. I didn't know exactly what saved, the terminology was, but I knew that I wasn't a Christian. I knew that much. So he gave us the invitation, and they always back then, they always sang "Just as I am" with that one plea, and I'm listening to this and said, that's the way God wants us to come. He don't want us to be any other way than what we are, just come on down there. So he gave an invitation, I'm holding on to the seat, and I could feel the tension in me and everything, and I thought, well, he said, one more invitation and we're going to close. And I'm holding on to the seat, I'm thinking, I know I felt, I don't know if I was sweating or not. It was in August, it was pretty warm. He went on to say it, and I let him close the invitation, and we went home, and that bothered me because I knew that I was lost after what he'd preached. I knew I needed to be saved, and I didn't know how, but he said if we wanted to be saved, he'd tell us how to be saved. So we went back the next night. Preacher preached, I don't know what he preached on, but he preached, and he did the same thing. He said, the road to hell is wide and broad, and a lot of people's on it, and the road to heaven is narrow, and few people find it. And every time he's looking at me and telling me that I'm on these roads, and I am. So that night when he gave that invitation, I waited, but I didn't wait that long. I waited, and I knew, and I could feel. I'm a man. I didn't want to be crying in front of people and walking down the aisle and people saying, "There goes a sinner man," and stuff like that. That was in my mind. They sang that song, "Just as I am." So I thought, that's what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm really going to do, what I'm faced with, but I said, I'm going to go down and talk to the preacher. And so I grabbed Joanne. I said, I'm going to walk up. But she said, well, wait a minute, I'm going to go with you. So we walked down that aisle, and we both prayed that prayer, a prayer of salvation, asking Christ to come into our heart. The most important decision I ever made was that night, because I had to go away, turn away from old sins and get away from all this, and I'm going to live a new life for Christ, and that's what I wanted to do. And I was always one, if I set my mind to do something, that's what I had to do. And I knew after I made that decision, I knew I had to get in my church. We went the next Sunday. We went over, and the preacher called me and joined in the office, and he sat down and went over the plan of salvation with us and wanted to be sure that we know exactly what we was talking about. And I said, okay, I do. And then he said, well, when I have an invitation, come on up here, and here's how you join the church. And he told us how. So I said, that's good. That's what we want to do. And that was my story from then, and it's still my story now. That's the most important decision that I've ever made. When I look back, I can see God working in my life, even though I didn't know him. I think he was making all these decisions for me to make to do what I did. If you happen to be one of them that's not on that road, that narrow road to heaven, eternity is for real. Eternity goes on and on. There's no end to it. And you don't want to go to hell. You don't want to go there and spend eternity with the devil and his crew. You want to go to heaven. You want to get on that narrow road. And it says there's few that find it. So that means you have to go find it yourself. You got to go looking for the Lord. And you go look for him, and he'll lead you the way. So you do that. And if you would like to know any more about how you can also have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, watch the video that our pastor made called The Gift.